Okay, in this final video of this series, I'm going to do a finish contour around this circular pocket that I've just after machining and this smaller circular pocket as well. So what I'm going to do in this situation is just highlight one of the pockets. So first of all, I'm going to right click, drag and release my mouse and copy after. Okay, so I've basically copied the pocket command. I'm going to look at the parameters. I'm going to change this from being a pocket to a contour. Therefore, the tool all remains the same with the same speeds and feeds. I'm just going to put a comment in here. Finish 18mm diameter. I'm going to look at the cup parameters, and here I'm going to ensure that the compensation is set to control. Therefore, I can change the size of the hole by modifying the radius value of the tool. So in other words, this will output a G41 or G42 in my code. My cutter compensation is to the left, so obviously it's going to be a G41 in my code. Stock to leave in the walls is 0, stock to leave in the floors is also 0. And I need to put a lead in, lead out. I'm just going to go with the defaults for now. We look at my linking parameters. And again, everything is set to absolute, so I'm going to have my final depth as -11. Okay, my feed plane at the moment is set to -10, absolute, so I might just put that back up to 3 for now. If I was to verify this, so I'm going to select the pocket and press and hold the control key, which allows me just to select those two operations. So I'm just going to verify those two operations. Okay, and I'm going to play. So this is my pocketing operation, and now doing a contour. So if I was to look down at the top and not show the tool, I'll actually make it invisible. You can see now that obviously my lead in, lead out is causing this issue, creating this unwanted slots, we'll say, on this side of the pocket. So close down my verification. So I'm going to regenerate the selected operation. Okay, so what Mastercam does here in this situation is the tool comes down on the center of the blue line, okay? And as it travels along the blue line, it will apply its cutter compensation. So again, if I was to backplot that, we might see that. So the tool is coming down on center here, and that's where it's putting in this gouge in there. So the purple line represents the predicted toolpath of the center of the cutter as it travels. So in other words, my lead in has to be, where I start cutting, has to be inside the purple line. So I'm going to modify my lead in, my lead out. So go to my parameters, go to my lead in, lead out. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make the length of the line 5mm. And I'm going to make the arc radius 5mm. And again, I'm going to copy that to the exit and apply it and regenerate. Now you can see I'm getting much closer where the cutter is coming down on center here, but obviously if it's on center here and this is the predicted path of the center of the cutter to finish this diameter, therefore I'm going to again get the slightest little gouge on the part here. So I need to still adjust my lead in and lead out further. So back to my parameters. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the sweep angle to say 135 degrees. And again, I'm going to copy that to the lead out, apply, and regenerate. Now you can see that the cutter is going to come down here on center. As it travels along the length of this line, it will apply cutter compensation. And then have a small arc, wrap around and down. So this then should be fine. Okay, just another point that's vitally important here when you're creating lead in and lead outs with cutter compensation applied on the control or on the machine, that the length of the lead in here, the length of the line has to be greater than the radius value of the tool. So I can call this 8mm cutter, which is going to have a 4mm radius, up to 5mm radius, and still be able to run that on the machine. Okay, another tip that I would say here is I have to be mindful of the fact that I've left 0.5 mm of stock on this sidewall. So if I wanted to wrap it down into the hole, in other words, not plunge or not feed down, I want to make sure that the cutter is not cutting on the way down. So therefore, I'd need to have a greater distance of 0.5 mm from here to there. Now obviously you can see here, this is very rough, but there's roughly about 1, 2, 3, 4 cursor lengths across this 3.6 mm here. So there's 1, possibly 2 cursor lengths there, if that makes any sense to you. So it'll be half of 6.3, which is roughly 1.8 mm from there to here. So I am 1.3 mm clear of the sidewall of the roughed pocket, if you like. So just to check that out then, if I was to go back to my parameters here and look at my linking parameters and have my feed plane now going down to say -9, so I'm rapiding 9mm into the hole, and if I was to regenerate that operation, and again what I'm going to do is pressing Control and selecting the pocket and verify both of those operations. And here what I'm just going to do is I'm going to turn on the tool again, and I'm going to have a stop conditions for collision, the collision checking between the holder, the shank and the shoulder, and play. So again, my pocketing operation, and that's where I am rapiding down, putting on my finish contour. So I have no collisions, and that's very important to check obviously if you're rapiding down above the top surface of the job. Moving on then, what I want to do now is I want to basically copy this contour toolpath down. So I'll just minimize it. And generally I like to use my insert arrow, so I'm going to move that down below this toolpath. Again, highlight it, right click, drag, and say copy after. So expand it, go into the geometry, rechain it, and again checking my C plane, top. Just zoom out here, again picking just after the 3 o'clock position so that I'm going around in this direction, so I'm climb milling. And if I was to regenerate this. So again you can see I have a problem straight away where my toolpath is starting here. So I need to again adjust my lead in and my lead out. And really there's only one option that I would use on this, is I go back to my lead in, lead out, and I make it just perpendicular as opposed to tangent. I take off the arc radius, which essentially put that in as 0, and I'm leaving the length of the line to 5mm. Okay, I'm going to copy that again to the lead out or to the exit, apply it, regenerate it, and if I look at it in an isometric view. So now what actually is happening here is I'm rapiding down to -9, feeding from -9 down, move out along this line and around. Now again we just might need to regenerate that, and you'll see the purple line. But the advantage of having the lead in exactly 5mm, because this is a 10mm diameter hole, it means that the tool is rapiding down in the center of the hole. Okay, so finally then I'm going to just make sure that I have everything in the correct sequence. So I've got a face mill operation, a contour which is roughing around the outside, a multi-pass contour roughing the inner profile. I'm spot drilling the first set of M5 tapped holes. I'm spot drilling the 4mm holes, and again spot drilling the M5 tapped holes at a lower level. Peck drilling the 4mm holes, peck drilling the M5 holes at this level, and peck drilling the M5 holes at the lower level. Then tapping. I'm just using the same tapping operation and going down the same depth with the tap. So tapping all of the holes. Then pocketing the 18 mil diameter and pocketing the 10 millimeters diameter. Again, I'm finish pass the 18 mil diameter with cutter compensation applied in the control. A finish pass of the 10 mil diameter with cutter compensation applied in the control. A finish pass going around the outside profile again with cutter compensation in the control, and the inner profile again with cutter compensation in the control. So my sequence of operations is good. I'm going to select all operations, verify, and again I just want to make sure that my stop condition is set to collision. When I'm checking for collisions, I just have my stop condition set to collision. So play. So my face mill operation, roughing, leaving material on the sidewall. Again, multi-pass contour here. Not the ideal toolpath, but we can look at those in later videos. Spot drilling my holes. So they're slightly deeper because they're tapped M5 than the 4mm holes that I'm now currently spot drilling. Okay, I'm now pec drilling the holes, pec drilling the M5 holes, tapping the holes, my pocketing operation, and again the pocketing operation, a finish pass, change tool, finish pass going around the outer profile, and a finish pass on the inner profile.